Welcome back, family. This is your boy ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, listen closely. It just simply means I am back with another one. This time, we're going to talk about waterfall in project management. What? Yep. I'm sorry. What is waterfall project management? Does that sound better? I thought it would. Well, let's jump into my 7 points. But I hope you're prepared to dive into what traditionally project management has been run on and been leveraged. I mean, when I got into project management, this was the first methodology that I ever learned was the waterfall. And if you can imagine, the waterfall is more or less, it's like, it looks like it's just going down like that in a sense. That's why they call it waterfall, because you start at the top and you end. But I'm going to walk you through that. But I remember when I got my first taste of this methodology of what we call waterfall. I was super excited. I was like, my first project, we're gonna run waterfall. And I'm like, okay, but then what do I do? So I'm gonna navigate you through that, family. I hope there's something out of this 7 point framework that I say that really resonates with you or arrest your attention to the point that you're like, wow, I didn't think about it like that. First of all, waterfall is a phased approach. Okay, so waterfall breaks the project lifecycle down into distinct, and I do mean distinct, phases such as requirements gathering, design, development, testing, deployment, and then most of all, maintenance. What you have to understand, family, is that each phase is completed before moving on to the next one. So it's not like I'm initiating and I'm already in closing. Or it's not like I am skipping the requirements gathering, skipping all the testing and all of that and deployment. Now, again, this depends on what type of project that you are leading, because there are certain projects that may not need that, but the majority are. If you're going to leverage the waterfall framework, excuse me, methodology, I would rather, if it's not something so dense like particular waterfall type project, uh, and I'm gonna walk you through that as well. Of how can I tell should I use this methodology or framework? Point number two, emphasis on documentation. Gotta document. You know, the strongest waterfall projects that I've seen, they made a strong emphasis on ensuring that the requirements were documented properly, the design specifications was clear, and the project plans were documented up front to create a clear roadmap for the entire project. And you know I'm going to step back because this is what we do as exceptional project managers, just like yourself. Project plans. A lot of people will confuse a project plan with a project schedule. They'll say, my project plan is updated. And I always keep coming back to this because I see it out in the industry a lot or through conversations like, where are you at on your project plan? Are you referring to my schedule? Yeah. I'm talking about your schedule. Oh, okay. This is where I'm at, and we got a couple tasks in place here, and we're still green. Everything is good. Everyone is knocking out their task. Everyone's completing on time. But family, be cognizant of that when you're leading a project, of understanding the difference between a project plan and a project schedule, because a lot of times it will get confused. But ensuring you have proper documentation based off of what everyone agreed on. One of the things I also use is my RAID Q. Man, I'm just giving a lot of value here, but I love doing it. This is what I enjoy doing. If I could, never mind, I'm not even. But anyway, I really enjoy doing this. And so because I enjoy doing it, I want to make sure you get the most value, especially if you're new in this game of project management. You're trying to figure out, is this something you want to do? It is something you want to do. You've listened to me long enough. It's time to join in or join out. Okay, that was my public service announcement. But honestly, just understand the importance of documentation, because documentation will save you a lot. And like I was saying about my RAID Q log, if you don't know what that is, I have a video on that, but I'll give you the highlight. RAID Q log stands for risk, action items, issue, decisions, and questions. So what I would do with the decision area is I would make sure I document our decisions. If we're in a meeting and a decision was made, I'll document it, because what would tend to happen is people will say, I don't remember saying that. And you're like, well, we said it on, July 14th, 2015, 18, like it hasn't. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on to point number three. Clear milestones and deliverables. That's one thing about a waterfall project, is having the ability to establish, I call them checkpoints, because that's what milestones are. They really serve as a checkpoint to allow stakeholders to assess the progress and ensure that the alignment is across the board. So, like I said, I call them checker flags or checkpoints. Well, I won't say checker flag. Checkpoint is basically, okay, we got that done. Now we're moving up to the next one. And it really gives you a sense of hope, like, wow, we are moving this project forward. Point number 4. One thing about a waterfall, though, project is it has limited flexibility. Now, when you look at a Scrum framework, it has, I mean, you basically are really just taking, items from the backlog. We're running sprints and you're moving forward. If we got to pivot, you can pivot faster in a more Scrum framework versus a waterfall, because waterfall is known for its limited flexibility, and one phase gets completed at a time, and the changes in the requirements as far as like scopes is not as easy like as what you have the flexibility in a Scrum framework. Because if you're in a good organization, they have a solid change process. It's not like you're going to go out and say, all right, I'm changing the scope, or I'm going to basically rebaseline the schedule. It's like, well, no, you got to go through a change process to make that happen. Point number 6. Now, one thing I will say is if you're leading a project and you have requirements that are stable requirements, like stable is. Stable is like, oh, I'm just messing with you. But no, you have stable requirements. And when you have stable requirements, the waterfall is definitely a project type methodology you want to leverage, because what waterfall does is it thrives, and I do mean thrives, when requirements are well understood. Let me step that back or to the side. In front. Okay. No, when requirements are well understood and relatively stable, it makes the project run so much smoother. You have a clear objective, you have predictable outcomes. Everything is just, it's like clockwork, and it just moves. My last and final point for point number 7, and I mentioned this before, is rigorous. Well, I didn't use the word rigorous change control, but I talked about change control. But having a rigorous change control, I'm gonna be honest with you, family. There's been times where I was frustrated with the change control. This is what happened. We family, so let me tell you. So I took over this project, and I get the project, and I'm looking at the Microsoft project schedule, and I'm like, man, this project needs to be rebaselined, because I don't even know what these dates are all out of whack, and because they built it ahead of time, just thinking. So I was like, well, all right, I'm gonna have to go through change control and make sure that everything is good. And while I'm there, I might as well do the whole gamut. I'm gonna make sure that the scope is aligned. While we're looking at the schedule, at the same time, I even want to look at the costs. Like, hey, are we sure that these costs are right? Can I, because based on, and one of the things too I love using, and I don't get to use it as much because it depends on what type of environment you're in, but earned value management, oh man. But that's probably for another video. But back to the story. So the point was, family, when going through this rigorous change control, and again, it's one of those things, as I shared with you, you love it and you hate it at the same time. I heard somebody saying it's like watching somebody you don't like driving off over the cliff over in your favorite car. You're mad, at the same time you're glad. I don't know if that made any sense, but hey, point I'm trying to make, family, is that having a rigorous change control is really going to save you more than anything. It's going to hold everybody accountable. So it won't be oh, you just made a change on the fly. No, that's not going to fly here. You're going to have to go through the proper channels with the proper documentation and the proper representation. Because that's another thing. When you go through those change controls, I've seen project managers go in there and sit in there by themselves, and I'm like, no, that's not how we roll. If you know anything about this channel, we always focus on communication and what? Collaboration. So I bring the team with me. So if there's some question that I'm unable to answer, I think as a group, we can figure this out together. So family, I leave you with that. I hope you understand the importance of rigorous change control, because what it does it ensures that everything is being evaluated. You get an approved sign off, which you put in your records. And you know, it depends on what there's software out there, tools like that you could leverage for that. But family, just make sure that you are doing everything possible to document these change controls, and you have a solid change control process. Until next time, this has been your boy ED. I'm out.